This is Greg Canty here, and welcome to the Win Happy podcast. Stay tuned for interesting chats with interesting people about winning their lives and being happy at the same time. This show has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. Thanks for listening. An idea becomes a reality when someone says, how about? And someone else says, why not? On this episode, I chat with Jolene Cronin about the Redhead Convention that ran for 7 years from the year 2000 to 2017, bringing redheads together from all over the world. It gave a sense of pride to people who may have felt bullied. It was loads and loads of fun. It raised money for charity, and it brought people together in a very, very special way. So when someone says, how about, be very, very careful when you say, why not? Because anything could happen. Let's hear from Jolene Cronin. Hey, Jolene.
Hello, Greg.
A big welcome to the Win Happy podcast.
Thank you. Thanks. It's lovely to be winning happily.
Now, it takes two things to make something happen.
What does it take?
Someone to say, how about?
How about?
And someone else to say, why not?
Yeah.
And I just want to paint the scene. It's 2010.
No, it's not. It's 2021.
It's 2010.
Oh, we're going back in memory. Sorry. Oh
I'm painting the scene. Oh my God. This is going to be a big car crash.
Breaking the limelight.
Yeah. So it's 2010.
Yes.
We're living in a tiny little village in Cork called Crosshaven.
Yeah.
We're knee deep in a recession. It's a deep recession. The whole country is absolutely and 100% depressed. I know at that time, from a business point of view, I swear to God, you could not have a conversation with anyone.
Yeah.
How are things going? And the head would drop straight away and say, listen, don't even go there. You have no idea. So the country was at a ferocious low.
Yeah.
So at some point in time, with that as a backdrop, someone said, how about we do this festival? And someone said, why not? Who said how about, and how did the how about come about?
That's a great question. Thanks for painting the scene. So you were depressed in 2010?
Oh, yeah. Well, the world was depressed. I wasn't really depressed.
Yeah.
I was concerned about my business and worried about where it might go. But you know me, I'd be kind of half positive anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think I was definitely in the positive book anyway, because I was having a great time in 2010. At this point now, how old was I in 2010? I can't even remember. So to kind of put a bit of context on it, I grew up in a pub, and I would have been very much a part of kind of the family business at home. So myself and my brother were working there, and my brother's name is Dennis. And
what's the pub called?
The pub is called Cronin's. It's in Crosshaven. And we would be, actually this conversation happened at the bar counter one night, right? So Dennis and I are sitting at the...
As so many wonderful ideas happen in Ireland.
And the two of us, absolute rogues of the highest order now, having the crack when everyone else is demented with depression in 2010. And the two of us sitting at the counter drinking Beamish, right? And it's coming up to Dennis's birthday, which is in August. And we're like, what do we do for your birthday? Oh, I know what we'll do now is we'll have a party, but we'll only invite redheads. Now, why would that be appropriate? Because both Dennis and I have some proper ginger heads of hair on us, right?
And this isn't long, flowing ginger hair. This is kind of like good, full-on, curly
this
red
is
hair.
Proper, tight, Afro-style, red, curly mops of gingerness on top of the two of our bulbs, right? And for people who don't know us, they often ask, are we twins? Dennis has a big, fantastic beard, actually, to accompany his hair on his head. So anyway, we were saying, what do we do for your birthday, Dennis? I know, let's have a party, but we'll only invite redheads. What a laugh. What do we do? Sure, we can do orange lawn bowling with some mandarins. Yeah, that's great. And we'll have the carrot tossing championships. And we'll get Paddy from Funky Town to toss the carrots into the kayaks or hula hoops or something. Yeah, that'd be great. Oh, and we'll have a competition and we'll give a prize to the person with the most freckles. We'll be, yeah, that's great. And let's crown a king and a queen, will we? Right? So all this was kind of basically coming up over a couple of pints. And because we're in the pub and we're both kind of very much part of the family business, we obviously had this amazing venue. And I had the responsibility at the time of hosting and organising events there. So the type of things that I'd be doing would have been like music gigs, art exhibitions, film clubs, etc. And this was, in many ways, it was an excuse for Dennis to have a party. In another way, it was a reason to bring business into Cronin's. And because we both have red hair and we're both very susceptible to the sun, we thought, why not do it as a charity fundraiser as well? So we tied it in with the Irish Cancer Society. So there were 3 big reasons as to who said,
How about?
How about? And the other person said, well, why not? And that's when the Irish Redhead Convention was born.
And that's kind of amazing, isn't it? The ability, because we all have those kind of cuckoo ideas from time to time, but the ability to grab that idea and actually just make it happen.
Absolutely.
The period of time from that how about over a few pints of Beamish and the oh my god,
let's go and do it. Yeah, it was a fast enough process, really. I think, to be honest, we pulled the first event together in maybe a month or something.
Yeah,
it was to be honest, it was a bit of crack. It was nothing more than what we were going to do on a Sunday, and as I said, there was always something going on down there, so it wasn't an ordeal. But I was doing some freelance photography work, and I had some nice connections in the Evening Echo, and I told them about what we were doing, and they very quickly, said, oh yeah, we'll absolutely give you some help in publicising that, and well, we'll even be your media partners. I was like, wow, okay, that's great. That's brilliant.
Now it's a thing.
Now I actually have to do it. And another amazing thing that just kind of happened was that KC, who is a presenter at the time, he was on Today FM. Was he on Today FM?
Yeah, one of the national ones.
Today FM, yeah. He was having a pint in the bar and I was telling him about what we were doing. And he's like, oh, sure, I'll ring you up. And next thing I'm on national radio talking about this crack. And very quickly it kind of became a thing. And we were like, oh, right, okay. So we better do a good job at this now, will we? And I did go in to sign up little certificates of genuine foxiness. Did go to a big effort to get bands who had redhead band members in. And we did do all the fun stuff that we said from the offset we would do. And because it was a charity event as well, we had a lot of community support. And at the very first event, with very, very little effort, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things, we must have had about 300 people at it. And it blew my mind.
Yeah. And I can imagine on that morning, you're thinking, will we have anyone?
Will we have anyone?
At all? Besides the Cronin clan?
They came. And they did come. And the amazing thing, and we touched on it earlier, was that, it was a family event without me kind of like intending it to be a family event. But the huge showstopper for me was that parents of kids were coming up to me and saying, wow, my son, John, or my daughter, has really had a hard time struggling with their difference and, not being comfortable in being a redhead. And you've suddenly put them right up on the stage and just made them super proud of who they are. And I really want to thank you for that. And that kind of hit me in the heart because I just didn't realize that this was a thing, because I had kind of grown up as this like really strong personality and I wasn't going to take any crap from anybody. And I was like, oh yeah. So it is a big deal to be a redhead. And
do you remember in those young days, if someone had glasses, they were 4.
Exactly.
If someone's very tall and skinny, you'd have some joke about them. Like kids are as cruel as anything. Yeah.
That's the thing. And like suddenly we were giving these kids their own voice, like, and it just became a sense of pride. And I knew when I was getting this feedback on the very first Redhead convention that this was going to be an annual thing. It had to be.
Okay, and was that, it's a great buzz and I'm having great fun, I want to do this again, or was there nearly like a sense of obligation because of what I was doing?
Probably a bit of both. Like I definitely get a thrill from, organising something and
Do
organising
you?
something well. Oh my God, I totally do.
I know you do.
It's like the biggest nerd in school. Like, give me an A1. I feel like getting stuff right. And when you organise an event like this and there's so much kind of logistics that go into it, I got a huge thrill out of seeing it all come together.
And where
So
did
I
people
had to
come
do it.
from for that first event?
The first one, they probably came from Douglas and Carrigaline.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Not very far. But you know what? We were delighted to see them.
Yeah.
We were delighted to see them.
So a big decision. We're gonna go for it year 2. Did it become a different beast in year 2? Did it?
Well, I suppose I kind of definitely put expectations on myself to improve on what we had done first time around. Yeah, it improved, and like, of course, you have a whole year then to think about all the other mad things you can do. So next thing, we'd hair dyeing, and we'll have a ginger speed dating event, and we could do the carrot tossing differently now if we tried it this way. So yeah, you're kind of like building on last year's event and success, and just trying to make it run more efficiently. And of course, you're relying so much on people's goodwill in terms of support, but also volunteer manpower to do it. So like, it really became an event that was drawn upon by the people that helped to make it happen. What did the village make of you? I'd say they thought I was a right nut job. Or the two of us anyway, because Dennis was definitely in this. Like, it was not a Jolene Cronin project. It was a 2-person project, plus all the many volunteers that I mentioned. But yeah, the village, like, generally, actually, I would say there was very good support from the village. Once they'd figured out what the hell you were doing and why you were doing it? Yeah, of course. But like, once we kind of got over the logistical things like traffic and parking, everyone was delighted to see so many new faces around. And of course, bring all the extra business that hosting a festival like that would bring to a small village. Yeah. Makes a big difference. I know, at what point did you reach out to me as one of your many volunteers? I'm not sure which year it was. But you did a good few with us, didn't you? Oh, of course I did, yeah. So tell me about the first time you went to the Redhead Convention. I couldn't tell you the specific year. Yeah. But it's a little bit, we love Jolene, of course we'll do it. And then you come down and you have to start processing. Because you've no idea what you've let yourself in for. Like. Absolutely none whatsoever. And I think the drill was you were given a few categories to judge. I think the first year, it was just a little table on the green. Mm. And that's fine. You had your piece of paper and people came out and you took the names or whatever and the details. And they're presenting themselves to you. And rightly so. For a category, be it longest hair or freckles or eyebrows or... We had some great categories. Granddad and granny and pretend and it was really so wonderful, so you're someone presenting themselves, I'm the best redhead mum. Mm. And you can't tell me that you're the greatest. They'll be there with their kids and I'd be like, come on, you need to tell me why your mum is the best. That's so cute. Like. Yeah, and you know what you're going to be looking at. You're going to be looking at 2 or 3 kids of different ages. Yeah. And there's a few of them who are just looking at you, scary man. Who doesn't have red hair. Yeah, exactly. Judging you. And then there's another bubbly thing. Oh, my mummy's so wonderful because of this, that, and the other. And it's so gorgeous and so beautiful. Yeah. But you do actually get a sense of the people. And they might come back around the same gang for another category or whatever. Say, okay, this is mad. And there's times during those days where you're like rushed off your feet. Yeah. There's so many coming at you and in a queue and they're looking kind of like... Get your act together here now and move on, will you? And then someone is telling you this life story and they've come from America because, someone in their family and something happened and this means so much to them. Yeah. And you have to listen to them. You do. Because they have come from that place. It's just mind-blowing. Before you know it, the day is gone and you're having to do the judging. Put on your judging cloak. Yeah, we definitely had some really interesting characters that came from literally all over the world. Yeah. So over 7 years, like basically, it grew bigger and bigger. When did you get your biggest surprise about, my God, people are coming here from beyond Ireland? Like when this is a bit kind of nuts, there's a big reach to this thing. That's a good question. Do you remember in 2013 we had the gathering? Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And Fulch Ireland kind of,
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, there was a bit of a cheat around that, and that.
A cheat around it.
Yeah, well, they were building initiatives and events, and maybe it was the most clever thing, really. I shouldn't even say that as a cheat, but it was kind of, they grabbed the Redhead convention and nearly made it like this is one of the great things we're doing as part of the gathering.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time thinking, that was there before, yeah.
Yeah. So that was year 4.
Okay.
I think 2013? Was it year 3 or year 4? But we had definitely kind of like done the test driving by the time the gathering came around. And I remember there was multiple kind of open community style meetings where you'd go along and you'd have a brainstorm for these gathering events. And I went to one in the city hall, and I was sat at a table with 20 other people, and we all had to talk about our ideas. And I said, well, I wanted to do a Redhead gathering. And why is that different? Because of course the gathering was all about clans, and you know, the Canty clan now coming.
Wow, don't mess with them.
The Cronin
don't
clan.
Don't mess with them.
Cronin's strong name. Don't mess with them either. So lo and behold, up turns me, and I put my hand up and I said, I'm going to do a Redhead gathering. And I think it just kind of really caught people's imagination and surprise. And I suppose because we had that kind of little bit of experience behind us, we knew the things that kind of appealed to people. And to be fair, we got a lot of support from Fáilte Ireland that year. They really kind of like helped us bring the festival to the next level. So it went from like kind of a half-day event with a bit of music in the evening.
Like a neighbourhood garden fete.
Like a neighbourhood garden to an actual full-on weekend festival. Right?
Yeah.
And of course you've got the marketing clout as well of Fáilte Ireland that are reaching on a global scale to promote Ireland. And they would put together their press releases. And of course they'd be looking at all these family gatherings, the Murphys and the Kentys and what have you. Oh, and the Gingers. So yes, it was definitely something that kind of stood out on the press releases. And we got an enormous amount of publicity, like more publicity than we could handle at all. And I suppose there was also this huge pressure because it was like a little tiny festival in a pub that was now put on the world stage. And I definitely kind of put a lot of pressure on myself as well to make it as good as I could. So it became a weekend festival, and people came that year from every single corner of the world. Every single corner, like.
I remember.
Sure, you were the judge. Yeah. Like there was a girl now who had done a fundraiser in her community in Dunedin to get a ticket to come over to see the Rose of Tralee and to go to the Redhead convention. Just to put that into perspective now, right? If you put a pin into the world from Dublin, right? You put a pin into one end of the globe and you put it right through the other side, it'll come out in Dunedin. That is the opposite side of the world. They were coming from everywhere.
So, Jolene, I hear about the Palio.
The what?
The Palio in Siena. This festival that happens twice every summer. Mm-hmm. And you go there and you know all about it. Mm-hmm. I hear about the Redhead convention that's been publicised by Fáilte Ireland.
I know, yeah. And then they turn up to the school play.
I land into Ireland, and then I'm trying to figure out where Crosshaven is or where I'm going to stay and everything.
Yeah.
And you come into this little village, and they arrive in this tiny little village, the little car park, little marquees and stuff. Did you get a sense of what they had in their head and their expectations about it, and what was revealed to them, and how that kind of changed, or how was that? Yeah,
definitely, because there was this kind of big red ribbon, the bow kind of around it, how it was presented as this like amazingly fantastic festival. And as I said, they were coming to, it's like the school play, like, do you know, well, it's like a scene out of Father Ted, like you come down here and which was actually part of the charm.
Yeah, oh, totally. And I think that was the product. That's what made it so fantastic.
Yeah.
That you were coming to effectively what was like a little community gathering.
Exactly.
And you're going to give this VIP exclusive backstage pass.
The very important
VIG. But you come to that. So could you see their expectations and what was pleasantly revealed to them, just kind of like, wow, that transformation. And
yeah. But that was actually part of the appeal of it. And that's what brought people back and back again every year, because they'd arrive on a Friday and by the time they left on Sunday, everyone in the village knew them. Do you know, because like it's a small place. There's only a handful of pubs here. And the community made a huge effort to welcome all those visitors. And no, it was just that sense of an Irish welcome. Like, we really are the country that opens the arms and invites people in, and hospitality here is so good. Like, that's what it delivered.
Yeah. At that point, you had the full kind of weight of the publicity machine and probably the funding as well.
Yeah.
So year next, then what happened?
Oh, nosedive, like.
Yeah. Was it?
Well, no, it wasn't a nosedive, absolutely not, because we had a massive foundation built there now. People who couldn't come the first year were like, oh God, I can't come this year, but I definitely want to go to Ireland at some point, so I'm going to put that in my diary. And they did. And as I said, we had return visitors, but I guess we didn't have the financial support following on from that. We did get some funding, but not as much as during the gathering. And events, like, they cost money, you know. They cost a lot of money. And we were putting in our time voluntarily. And there was obviously this fundraising element that was going on as well throughout it. So, like, at the end of the day, you were kind of left with no buffer or cash to bring you over. So you're relying so much on people's goodwill, and you're going back to the same suppliers. And you know, that's actually where it kind of got tough. But that goodwill, you know, did extend. Like, it went for 7 years, but ultimately it was the death knell of it. Like,
yeah.
But I don't want to dwell too much on that, because, like, the impact of the gathering and the foundation of it definitely carried on for a couple of years, and people were very supportive, and they wanted to come back. It was just done on a tighter budget.
And in a way that's more difficult. You know, you deliver a set of expectations with a purse. But you don't want to deliver a half event the following year.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't anyway. Like.
No, of course you would. But I don't think you could.
Yeah.
And then the following year again.
Yeah. And you have to try, like, when you do something annually, you want to kind of have something a little bit different as well from year to year too, don't you? You know, that might be a different speaker, or maybe a new exhibition, or what have you. Like, so you're always trying to kind of think of ways to make it a bit different. But I think actually ultimately people came back for that experience that you talked about earlier, the hospitality, the friendships that were made. That's what people were coming back for. And the crack, the absolute crack.
Now, parallel to, you know, some of the things that you're talking about, even down to the funding, I remember we were doing work, I'm not sure if I mentioned this to you, we've been work all around the Cork brand. There was a big job that was going on at the time, and how can Cork market itself overseas? Now, it wasn't so much from the point of view of tourists, but it was in terms of investing in Cork, living in Cork, being educated in Cork, starting a business in Cork, all of those things. And part of that work, you know, it was like kind of brand development. But what you needed to do was you needed to understand what your brand was. What are the elements that we had as a city and as a county that were attractive to people? So we started off by asking people simple questions. What do you love about Cork? And that was really revealing. And then you took it a stage further. What do you love about Cork and working in Cork? And then it went a bit deeper, and then we met loads of different stakeholders, all that kind of stuff, people in different industry groups and everything. And one of the things, when you did kind of shuffle the pack and what we had in Cork, one of the things that was really special about it was this kind of like individual character and the culture and the colour of the place. And when we kind of thought about it going forward, so then in terms of, you know, we use this kind of terminology about like brand management. So the idea being, if you know Cork has strengths in those areas, but you need to kind of play to those strengths. And if you had initiatives that could kind of highlight the quirkiness and the culture and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You don't have the big, huge marketing budget that big cities would have.
Yeah.
But what you do is you play to your strengths.
Yeah.
And if you do have something like the Redhead Convention in Crosshaven that got publicity disproportionate to the size of the event, then you just backed it and you backed it. So when I heard that it was finishing, I was like, this is terrible because we're giving away an asset. It really was, it was this quirky little thing that was delivering big time, relative to the scale of it. The publicity did go off the Richter scale, didn't it, in terms of delivery for Cork and for Ireland?
100%. Off the Richter scale. That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is just crazy.
Yeah. Why, I wonder?
Yeah. Because it was a brilliant idea around a curious thing,
it's
isn't
the
it?
quirkiness. And I suppose, like, what is quirky about a festival? Like, it's just the fact that it's redheads, like, and like the fact that red hair is the rarest hair colour in the world, and it's so different. We're used to it. We're used to it here. But like in other parts of the world, they're not used to redheads. And this like wacky tomfoolery, this kind of festival of ginger loving madness, like it's got all this kind of like fun factor like painted all over it. Like, of course, it's a happy story.
It's a fun story, isn't it?
It's a happy, fun story of like, people who are in a minority getting together, having a laugh and raising money for a good cause.
Yeah.
Like it's got everything going for it. Like.
And the raising money part, like there was no price tag to getting involved, was there?
Well, there was like you'd enter the competitions, pay a couple of euros, and there was like,
but it was token.
It was a token, like, but we did raise quite a lot of money as well over the years too,
You did, didn't you? And that even there were the offshoots of fundraising as well and different things.
Yeah.
There was the Irish Cancer Society. I spotted that, but other people were doing fundraising. Was there this Walk 300 or something?
There was Walk 300. We had ginger photo booths. We had like a great bunch of people over in the village were like, doing things like mouse racing and like ridiculous events like that were just going on the whole time. And there was always like these little offshoots of fundraisers. And we raised quite a lot of money. I wish I had the figure, but I think it's around 50k or something is what we got. Yeah, so it was a really good thing to do,
Yeah, and it clearly made you a fortune.
It's if I made about 100 quid off it. I actually don't think it was about the money for me. Like I learned so much during that festival. Like I really got a handle on kind of event organising, on working with volunteers, on kind of managing that type of people, on actually learning a bit more about the media, like kind of writing press releases, engaging with journalists, pitching kind of like what we were doing, how to work with somebody when they came and they interviewed me. Like I learned so much that was actually invaluable. Like I didn't need cash for what I was doing. Like it was just so rewarding in so many different levels that it wasn't financially the reason that would motivate me to do it, because I would have stopped after the first year if it was a financial thing. Like,
would you talk to me about Cork Airport?
Oh yeah.
Every time you fly
Cork
anywhere,
Airport,
you end up meeting Jolene.
Kathleen and Kevin, like we went to them, and we went originally kind of looking for a little bit of sponsorship, but they were like, oh, come on now. And I was knocking on every door looking for sponsorship. But what they did was they were like, look, we will help you promote this festival as best as we can. And they did, right? People who were flying into Cork Airport were personally greeted on the planes when they were coming in. Oh, you're going to the Redhead Festival. That's great. Passport control were like welcoming gingers when they flew in that weekend. Enjoy the Redhead Festival in Crosshaven. Then when it came to launch the festival the next year, we had this photo booth right from year 2, I think, where Jörg Koster, who is an incredible photographer, he's based near Blarney, a German photographer, and he was doing this photo booth where he was photographing redheads. And he photographed over 1,000 redheads from like day-old infants to great-great-grandmothers. And it was a real cross-section of...
Where was the photo booth?
It was at the festival. So it was in one of these little tents, right? And every year people would come back, so he'd even see the kids kind of growing up year on year. And we thought, God, we have to do something with these photos. Like, we were like, will we do a book? Oh, sure, we've no money. Will we do an exhibition? Oh, sure, we've no money. But like, anyway, we did do an exhibition, and Cork Airport were the host of that exhibition. And we did it around St. Patrick's Day as a lead-in to launch the campaign for that year. And Cork Airport basically just embraced it, and it was great. So they had the exhibition down at the Arrivals Hall in the airport, and it just got so much kind of attention and a lot of laughs, and people were getting selfies with their favourite redheads and what have you. And the exhibition was really well received, and then it was invited to show in Dublin Airport. So we brought it up there. And again, great publicity for the festival. And then that year it was shown at the event. So we still have these 50 beautiful, larger-than-life prints, and the airport said, well, would you like to maybe put them on a more permanent display? Oh, yes, of course we would. so me and about 50 other beautiful redheads ended up donning the walls up there for a few years. Even after the festival finished, we were still there. And that's why my picture greeted so many people coming back.
When you consider industries that we kind of work in, marketing and all that kind of stuff, and you consider that job of putting imagery at your airport, that in a way paints a picture about where you're coming to or where you're leaving, and all the marketing stuff and the big expensive photo shoots. I think in a way, when you come into Cork Airport and you pass that corridor of photographs with Jolene, etc., and
Jolene and my gingers.
Yeah, but it really feels like welcome to Ireland, and something just a little bit special. And I think in a very accidental way, if you deliberately try to create something to give you that feeling, you'd struggle to do it. But in a funny way, that actually delivers it perfectly, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I suppose it's just an honest reflection of who we are.
Yeah,
and the redhead is a symbol of Ireland. It's like the epitome of a Celt, isn't it?
Yeah. And are you all a bit mad?
No, not at all. Yes. No, we're not. We're totally fine.
From all of those years, Jolene, have you got a few favourite moments or favourite stories to me?
Favourite moments, favourite stories.
I gave you this list of questions.
You did not give me the list of questions because you said you wanted to surprise me and put me on the spot. It's very hard to pick out a favourite moment.
When you think about it, what kind of moments?
Well, definitely that first year, and parents coming up to me and telling me the impact. That was a real kind of deal breaker for me. I suppose, it's the long lasting friendships that have come out of this has been huge. I've really made friends for life out of it. I loved the parade. Here were all the redheads on show, literally parading through the village in Crosshaven, being the absolute stars was great fun. Crowning of the king and queen, that was wonderful. What a moment,
Yeah, it was. It was so much fun.
Imagine getting the title of the queen or the king of the redheads.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
You weren't allowed enter being the event organizer, were you?
I was too busy. I was too busy.
Were you just waiting for someone to nudge you and say, why don't you enter?
No, I was just running around with a clipboard,
was the whole point of this festival?
Making sure everything was okay.
Was the whole point of it not to be the queen of the redheads? Is that not why you did it?
No. I don't want to be centre stage at all.
And
quite happy just making sure everything's running smoothly. It's way better.
The last day
Yeah.
of the last festival, and when you're wrapping up, what was in your head?
Well, I suppose we still were planning on doing it the following year, you know. I think the last kind of maybe 2 festivals, like you kind of have this guilt trip on yourself because you'd be like, oh, I'm going to invest so much of myself into this. This is so much effort. It's always worth it. It's great. We'll do it. It's brilliant. And then the festival happens. It's very rewarding because you see all the people again. You great crack. There's a huge kind of emotional kind of high from the festival. So I would have been very happy, really, to be honest. So I would say it would have been probably a feeling of joy. Would have been what was going through my head. Yeah. And then maybe over the following few months, the realization of like, oh, I just can't do this again.
Okay.
Do we have to stop? And then it's like breaking up from a long-term relationship. You're like, oh my God, do we have to stop? Yes, we do.
Yeah, because it does. Obviously, you put loads in, but it does feed you as well, doesn't it? It feeds you something.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure, you wouldn't do it otherwise. It is rewarding. Yeah. It is rewarding. Yeah.
So if someone wants to do a trip down memory lane and they do a Mr. Google on it, what should they look for?
I think if you look at some of the videos, you'll come across some good stuff. The BBC did a nice little feature piece on us. Oh, we did a Redhead music video, which was great crack. Good friend of mine who arrived in Ireland from Australia and hasn't left since, Pepe Mara, wrote a nice little Redhead song for us.
And am I right in saying there's a video?
There's a video for this.
Page,
it's called The Redhead's Call.
Ah.
And it was filmed all around Crosshaven, the beaches and the pub. We got a couple of our friends to star in it, and that's a lot of crack. So have a look at that. There's multiple news reports on it. Like we had even Fox News coming over.
Interesting name
I wonder why they arrived.
Yeah. Does Donald Trump know that his favourite news channel has anything to do with redheads?
Yeah. So, and we made it onto, I don't know, a couple of comedians shows. I can't even remember their names. Like, yeah, there's just loads of stuff. Like if you Google Irish Redhead Convention, you will find it. You will find it. And also, like the Irish Redhead Convention, it's not the only redhead gathering in the world. I feel I should definitely mention this. There is a long-standing festival in the Netherlands, which is lovely because my mum is actually Dutch and I have a big affinity with Holland. And I love going there. I have lots of cousins and family and what have you. And there's a festival over there called Redhead Days. And I learned a lot as well about how they run their festival. And they were very welcoming and you know, open in terms of what they do and what they could improve. And we kind of mutually helped each other out over the years. But I've been a big follower of that event. And then I suppose, so the Redhead Days in Holland is probably one of the first festivals. Ours turned up. And funnily enough, I didn't know about the event in the Netherlands when we started our one here. It was just by coincidence. It kind of happened, but I got to know them after a Google search. And then I just went every year from then on. But I've also been to Redhead events in Manchester, in Milan. I kid you not.
Do they have redheads in Milan?
They have redheads in Milan. There is redhead events that happen in Portland, in Oregon. There is a redhead event in Edinburgh, or at least there used to be. All these events kind of have existed. So I had this idea at one point that like we should get our own ginger passport. And when you went to each of these events, you could get them stamped. It'd be a bit like doing the Camino. Maybe we edit that out because we can then make a fortune. Yeah. There's no money to be made here, Greg.
Jolene, I'm sensing you're not done with this.
I am so done. I mean, you asked me to do the interview and I was like, the redheads. Should we
what was that about?
People aren't interested in redheads anymore, Greg. Like, we're over that. Yeah. Nearly racist talking about redheads now as a separate kind of group of people, like at this point.
At this stage, we can't talk about anything. You're like, there's alarm bells for every sort of thing that you can say.
Yeah.
So your feeling about it, 7 years, done. It's kind of in the rear view mirror now a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have a little collective thought about it?
A collective thought. I would look at it very fondly. You know, I would look back at it with really good memories, great people, fantastic people. Yes, like a lot of hard work, but overall I get a feeling of just a lot of happiness.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? That's the truth, like. I feel like I'm going to cry.
Yeah. Do you? No. I'm supposed to make you cry,
no. I know, seriously, like it's got a very big, happy place in my heart.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Well, you were on the Win Happy podcast. So what's happening?
Jeepers. There we go now.
What's
that wasn't intended. What is happiness to me? I suppose being happy is definitely being around other people who are feeling the same way. Like I feel that I very much kind of like embrace the energy of other people. And if I'm with people who are positive and upbeat and happy, that definitely transcends onto me, or vice versa. So that's definitely happy, like being around positive people and being around places that make you feel in that happy space as well. So like I'm a big fan of the sea. So definitely kind of being outdoors in nature, near the water. That's very much about happiness as well. Cool. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Great.
So then I talk about winning happy.
Oh yeah.
And the analogy I give everyone is that you might love playing football, but without goalposts, it's kind of pointless. And there's nothing better than putting the ball in the back of the net and having that moment of celebration. So in your life, in a winning, happy context, what's your putting the ball in the back of the net?
You see, I suppose I'm always kind of like shifting the goalposts. Like I always have another little kind of a project that I'm kind of working toward. It is like, because it keeps life interesting. Like, so yeah, I just love the sense of achievement that when you do a job and you get it like well done, I find huge satisfaction out of that. And how do you reward yourself? It's probably just by going for a swim. Like, isn't that like, which is a very simple thing. But actually that just kind of like, you're kind of going from different energies of kind of like being very involved or, you know, intensely into something to just complete relaxation. That is a very satisfying feeling. Yeah.
Now, what we haven't mentioned is what Jolene actually does.
What do I do?
So you're a photographer?
What do I do? Because I keep... What do you think I do, Greg? Because this is very interesting now.
You're a photographer.
I am.
Now, we know you have a podcast as well about salmon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I suppose I do a bit of everything. So I did a degree in multimedia. Did Brendan do the same degree?
I think so.
You did, yeah.
I should know that, shouldn't I?
You should know that. I was his dad, like... I did the old multimedia degree there in CIT back in the day, which was a whole lot of different kind of media stuff. And that was great because I just have an interest in all that, from like photography, graphics, drawing, reading, writing, listening, like all that kind of media stuff, like, you know, kind of creative kind of elements, just really.
Just creating, isn't it?
I think just creative. And like actually when I was even doing my leaving cert, I kind of wanted to study art and animation and, you know, kind of all that kind of creative stuff. So that's what kind of keeps me happy, is doing that and kind of working as a freelancer. Like the nice thing is that you get to do all those little creative projects, and every time you do one, it's a new challenge. Like that's really nice. Do you know when you're doing the same job day in and day out, I think that would probably wilt me like a flower dying.
Yeah. That's not Jolene.
Underneath the weed killer.
Yeah.
No. I need to kind of flourish through creative projects that get my brain kind of ticking over and tapping, and that's what I do. And so it's a whole mix of different
How
stuff.
can people get in touch with you? So
I suppose my website's got lots of my work on it, and it's jolenecronin.com. So my name is Joleen Cronin, Cronin. Spelt it a little bit different to Dolly Parton.
What would she know?
So that's how people can find me. And then obviously I'm on the Instagram and the Twitter and the Facebook, etc.
All of that.
All of that jazz, yeah.
So can we finish the podcast with that song?
Jolene?
No, the Redhead song. What did you call that song again?
Oh, the Redhead's Call.
Yeah.
Of course we can.
Did you have any hand actor part in the
I'm
lyrics?
in the video and all. Do you want to have a look at it?
I know you're in the video, but the actual lyrics in that.
Oh yeah, it was composed on that couch over there.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what's the song about? Is it about redheads by any chance?
Let's play it.
Yeah, okay, let's play it.
Let's play it.
Jolene, thank you so much for coming on the Win Happy podcast.
No problem, a pleasure. Thank you, Greg.
Cool, thank you so much.
By a lonely garden wall, I heard a young girl calling.
I'm just waiting for a ginger man to hold me in the storm till the sun shines in the morn. I'll be waiting for a ginger to take my hand.
Low lying beneath the summer sky, we'll watch the flag for all the redheads fly. With sunscreen on our skin, we'll hear the session sing in Crosshaven, where the redhead flag is high. By a lonely garden wall, I heard a young man calling.
Thank you for listening to the Win Happy podcast, which has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to send me an email at greg@fusion.ie. So until next time, take it easy.